I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Welcome back to Oops the Podcast. I'm Francis, joined as ever by Giulio Gallerati.
What's up, lads and lasses?
Happy Tuesday to you fine folks listening to our intrepid, beloved podcast. We're having a lot of fun. Giulio and I have been hanging out so much. So much. And I actually turned to him last night as we were in the middle of yet another hang and said, do you worry that we're hanging out too much? So much that we're going to burn through conversation that would be better saved for the podcast? And he said, no, I think it's a good thing.
I agree, dude. We have a lot. Yeah, like our hang has become a much more like, kind of like, if I'm in the neighborhood, I'm going to hit you up type of thing.
That's it.
And, other way around too. So it's good.
So Giulio, his new apartment is so central. I mean, if you were to, I don't know how to put it. If you were to place a pin on the island of Manhattan and fold the sides around it, you'd have a square. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It is the most central apex around which to fold a square napkin.
It's pretty convenient. Yeah.
It sure is. Apex isn't the right word. Probably vertex. I don't even know. We were there. We were doing the Girls Gotta Eat Instagram live show. We hopped in for a bit. That was quite fun.
Yes.
They were so nice to have us. And then we just sort of hung out and we drank White Claws. Not ironically whatsoever.
Not ironically.
I mean,
we love Claws.
What
dude.
a great product.
Claws are great. No, it was a good hang. Like Francis came over. We did the live. He had to go do a spot. He then came back after the spot. And we drank more Claws.
More Claws.
And it was great.
Yeah.
And it was funny. Like I've talked about on the pod how I'm afraid that I'm not going to be a good host. And there was a couple of times where like Francis asked for water and like my face just like turned jet white. And then he started laughing his ass off. He's like, and he explained, he's like, dude, at this time in the night, he's like, don't worry. Like I can get my own water, dude. He's like, even in my house, it's fine. At this point,
look, it's beyond belief how neurotic Giulio is about hosting because of how much we've talked about it on the podcast and how much he's brought up how good of a host I am, which I appreciate. So, for example, I don't even think I said, "Can I get a water?" I think I stood up and said, "I'm going to go get a water," and he was like, "Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down." And I was like nervous. And then at the end of the night, I tried to grab my water glass and my empty White Claw can to bring them to the kitchen. And he was like, leave it. Leave it. Speaking to me like I'm Kojai.
I'm just becoming an oppressive host.
Yeah.
I've gone too far in that direction.
But he, look, you guys are great hosts. And it was so fun for me to see the joy on Hillary's face when she looked around and realized that a bunch of people were happily, comfortably hanging at your new home. And she goes, this is a real gathering. Yeah. This is really great.
She loves to do commentary. Like she, even though it's obvious to all of us, she has to say that.
Well,
which is a good quality. But.
I brought this up, I think, when we were hanging out at that Soho House place where I said, my new thing now out of quarantine is to step away from the group that I'm hanging out with and sort of take a bird's eye view on what's happening and then offer a broad sort of,
recap,
happy sort of bow on everything that's occurring. Right. So I step away for a second or I sit back for a second and then I go, guys, how great is this? That's my new thing. And then I might,
That's a good guy to be.
If I'm really feeling it, I might even say something like, guys, these are the nights. These are the nights. These are the nights, guys. And you know what? People laugh and they think I'm a joke, but I think it also inserts a little bit of awareness of, man, we're back in it. We're back into doing the things that we used to do so commonly that we took them for granted.
Yeah.
Which is just hanging out with 6 people and having like 4 margaritas and feeling great.
Casually on a non-occasion.
Yeah.
Being hungover for no reason.
Yeah, a night that just hits you in the face, comes out of nowhere. The right people gather.
It's a good time.
And the music's good. The lights are on the right setting, and everybody's looking good and feeling good and ready to bone.
Well,
what
dude,
it is.
last night we were also chilling with our friend Ricky and his wife Julie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I sort of indirectly introduced them to each other. It's funny, my entire crew, not the entire crew, but like Ricky and his wife are a product of me, like introducing them. And also Benny and Remy we've had on the podcast.
Yeah.
They also know each other because of me. So I feel like this sort of matchmaker,
Yeah.
which is interesting. And dude, it's funny because both of these people, Julie, Remy, they're people that I've known for now 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I have consistently spent so much time with them, but I never would have expected to. And quite frankly, if I weren't to have set them up with good guy friends of mine, they wouldn't be as present in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an interesting thing.
It's cool. This is Remy from the How Come podcast, which you
Right.
might be familiar with, and Ricky Velez, whom we've had on the podcast. Great comedian.
Yes.
She's a great comedian too. So you guys might be familiar with them. Does setting up a long-standing match make you feel good?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's worked out for the most part in both of those situations. So it feels good. You know, if it were to have gotten ugly or, you know, then it would not be so good.
Well, here's my question, right? At what point, even if it were to get ugly, would you say, you know what? It may have ended poorly, but that was still a long enough relationship that I'm glad I brought them together.
You know, I don't necessarily know if I care about how long it lasts.
No,
you
but
know?
but here's what
the
I
thing
mean.
I'm more concerned about is like them being terrible together and everyone and me not wanting to hang out with either of them anymore.
Oh, have
I'm
you
not
ever
as
done that?
I don't know. Like, I'd have to think about it a little more, but like, I'm not that concerned about one of them breaking the other one's heart. Like, everyone's adults here. Like, it's not my fault.
You've never created a 2-headed monster.
I think I've said there was one couple who I know them both really well, and I could have stopped it from continuing. I knew it was going to be a
Whoa.
disaster. You know, I'll tell you off the air.
This is
But
what
dude,
the fans
it was
hate.
really, it got really bad. And I actually had to hit her up and be like, hey, I knew that I don't want you to think that I didn't know that it was weird. I just didn't want to interfere.
Hang on a second. Wait a second. Whoa, hold on. We need some clarification on this.
Okay.
So you brought 2 people together.
So there are 2 people who sort of indirect, like being around me and our friends led them to each other.
Yeah.
They started talking. Anybody who knows both of them, there's a few of us who knew them both who are like, they are talking. Like, what? We're kind of like, whatever, we'll just let this happen. And then it happened, and then it got super fucking weird.
Huh.
And
Were they together, or did they just hook up once and then it was uncomfortable?
it was a short-lived thing where it was kind of like hot and heavy for a couple weeks,
Yes.
and then slowly
The
one
old-
party realized there was no shot it was going to work.
The old 2-week comet relationship.
And dude, spending time with them was brutal.
Oh, yeah. Was
Like-
there a lot of PDA?
Like maybe, but you could also tell that they've only hung out together.
Mhm.
And then once they're hanging out in a group,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you really realize you don't have something in common with someone.
Sure.
When you're hanging in a group and you can't kind of tailor your personality anymore to them because you're hanging out with other people who know you.
Yeah.
And if you're just acting weird or just doing baby talk or whatever fucking shit you do in private.
Yeah. Yeah, that's no good. So you then told the girl after they broke up or they ended, you said, we knew all along that was a train wreck.
So let's also say that maybe she is a work friend and I didn't want to damage that working relationship.
Uh-huh.
So I just wanted to be like, listen, I knew that this was weird. I don't want you to think that I didn't know it was weird because I know how things ended up for you and how uncomfortable you ended up being. And I want you to know that I knew.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying that you knew it was weird once they ended and it was bad, or all along?
Once the train had gone off the tracks.
Once the train goes off the tracks, keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. Hey-oh! Yeah.
Engine number 9.
This couple is gonna die. Yeah, a little freestyle. Watch out.
So anyway, fucking yeah. So I didn't want her to think that I had no idea because we spent a little time with them and we were sort of, just trying to keep it nice. And when something insane would happen and she was like, this is insane. And we acted like it was normal. I wanted her to know that I too felt that it was insane.
Were you letting her know that you were on her side?
I wasn't on anyone's side.
I see.
Because the guy's a very good friend, but it was very apparent to me that it wasn't going to work.
Did either of them resent you for bringing them together?
No.
Do you
But
ever fear that that's the risk of matchmaking?
This is the only time that I've ever felt that was a risk. Because sometimes, like you hang out with a person and they're friends, and if shit goes wrong with her, the friends sort of fall by the wayside too.
Right.
I was closer to the guy in this situation. Very, very good friend. And, it didn't go well. And I wasn't willing to like have that ruin my relationship with her too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I very respectfully of him brought it up to her and was sort of like, it appears that this isn't working out.
And that wasn't the first that she had learned that it wasn't working out, right?
I think it had been I had heard from other people things that like she would never tell me that I was like, oh, that makes sense.
I see.
Type of thing.
Boy, Giulio playing it close to the chest. I like it. Very keeping his cards close. Very
Diplomacy,
coy.
man.
Very coy, very pragmatic.
Just trying to make
Good on
everybody
you.
happy.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man, I love the idea of being a matchmaker. I have always wanted to be a human dating app. I really have. And say like, well, this guy's 6'1", she likes that, and then she's agnostic, and that's something that he likes, and they both value dogs and whatever else, and I'm sure they'd have fun playing co-ed tennis together. But nobody trusts me.
Well, dude,
Nobody trusts me to bring people together.
We'd be a good team because
Well, I think
I don't examine the empirical data like that. I sort of like feel it out. But you being like, all right, let's stick to the numbers. Like,
yeah.
Like the dog column being checked off in both columns.
Yep.
Like,
I'll be the quant, and you be the
qual,
quint.
the
Yeah,
quint,
you be the qual. I'll be the quant.
Yeah.
And together we'll put our skills together
We'll make this happen.
and make it. Now, look, I think there's a very strong distinction for us to make between bringing people together that we don't know, right? As we've spoken about, people who listen to the podcast, we are excited to set you guys up and potentially go off and have lots of oops children. And then also versus setting up friends of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, especially when they're both friends of yours, because there's a high risk of setting friends up.
Yeah, for sure. You can fuck up the dynamic.
You screw up the group. You get blamed if someone has their heart broken. If the guy ends up, being a jerk and not treating the girl well, then she resents you, and vice versa, whatever it is. And yet my girlfriend and I were set up by a very close mutual friend. So I've always had a lot of fondness for that way of coming together.
It's a wonderful way to come together.
I think it's the most assured way of a successful relationship. Number one.
Like intro to the successful relationship. It's a really important building block.
Someone who knows both of you very well and thinks that you would be a good match, to me, I have to believe that has the highest batting percentage for success in relationships.
Right.
Higher than dating apps, higher than meeting someone at a bar, higher than meeting someone at Whole Foods, which I used to think was number one. It has to be, right? So, and by the way, if you read, I've said this before on the podcast, Aziz Ansari's book, Modern Romance, which people should read, it talks about how that's like the most old-fashioned way. Parents used to set people up.
Yeah.
Friends used to set people up. And then, people started meeting in the workplace, and that became more of a thing. But I still think friends setting up people they know on dates is the best way for people to meet.
Yes, I agree.
But as you said, or as we were saying, it is a high risk.
There's unfortunately, there's a risk. But again, like, what risk? You know what I mean? Like somebody's ends up being butthurt for a few months. Like it ultimately is worth the risk.
I had a friend that I wanted to set up with one of my girlfriend's friends, and her friend had once upon a time mentioned to me that she thought this guy was cute, but at the time he was in a relationship.
Got it.
And so I sort of held on to that nugget. And I always thought, one of these days he might become single. And when that happens, I'll let him know that this young lady has harbored, an affinity for him all this time.
That's so funny.
And she's just been waiting in the wings until he was a free man.
You didn't tell him while he was in the relationship still?
I may have done, but as soon as he became single, I definitely immediately reminded him of it.
Right.
And then we both thought, okay, here we go. It's happening. The stars are aligning. One of my best friends and one of her best friends are gonna get together, and then the four of us are gonna go on camping trips and do tennis lessons, and we're gonna buy houses that are share a lawn, and our kids will grow up and we'll have children. We'll sink our time where we have children so that our kids are the same exact age and we can do joint birthday parties and save money on cake.
Oh man, you got ahead of yourself there.
Yeah,
huh?
well, I tend to do that. So the whole point of this is to say that as soon as I told him that, we then thought it was like a green light, and sure enough, I think he like tried to hit her up and ask her if she wanted to go out or whatever, or maybe he saw her once and was like, "Hey, you want to come over?" And she was like, "No." And it had been so long since she had told me that like her mind had completely changed. And maybe she was even kidding when she told me. Like, I don't even know if it was real. And I felt so bad for like giving him the wrong information and setting him up for failure, but also for putting her in an awkward position where he thought he had a shot. And I was like, God, I am not cut out for this matchmaking business. And when I talked to my girlfriend about it, she was like, dude, you got to run that shit by me. Like, it gets sticky when you're talking about our age friend group that's like very adjacent, because these two see each other a lot. Like,
booby trap.
It's gonna fuck up the board game dynamic. Like, we can't have to be conscious of, oh, this person's coming, so we can't invite him, or vice versa. We don't have enough friends to like to have to leave people out. So, man, I think I gotta take a back seat in the matchmaking game.
Dude, moral of the story, man, a rotten intelligence briefing can really do damage.
You're right.
Dude, one time, okay, listen to this. I had a girl who I was crazy about in college. We messed around a little bit. My ex-girlfriend at the time was a real fucking pariah. Every time I would have a thing going, she would try to sabotage it. And saboteur. So we spent some time together in college. Always was fond of it. I'll never forget those times. Then in the city, I bumped into her one night, and then we kind of spent a couple more nights together here and there.
Fooling around.
Time goes by, and I'm dog sitting for a friend at this apartment, and I had some friends over, and one of the girls happens to know her, and she goes, "Oh my God, she is so." The girl's name is Rachel. She goes, "Rachel's crazy about you. Like, she talks about how like you were the one that got away, and how she's crazy about you. She's like, you should hit her up." And now I had been drinking a couple sodas, so I'm like,
pops.
So I sent her sort of an explicit text.
Oh boy.
It wasn't like a picture of my dick or anything, but it was like I want to,
Yeah, I'm dog sitting. I wish you were the dog sitting on my face. Yeah.
Not that bad, but essentially being very straightforward, like I want to hang out immediately type of thing. More explicit than that.
Yep.
To which she replies with a question mark.
Oh boy.
And then I had to backtrack. I'm like, "Oh, I'm with somebody. She said you were talking." Yeah. And then she just goes, "I'm married."
What? No.
Fucking rotten intelligence report, bro.
That is bad. That's a bad briefing, dude.
Terrible.
That is a drone strike on a wedding. You
this
know
girl,
what I mean?
yeah, dude, this girl who I didn't know.
You think you're hitting a weapons depot and you end up hitting a wedding.
Exactly. It's like fucking the famous I think Bill Clinton did something like that.
I
They
think a lot of
bombed
our presidents have done stuff like
unfortunately.
that. Yeah.
Bombing hospitals and stuff by accident. But dude, literally, like, it was some girl who I didn't know who like wanted to make some connection. She had heard some piece of intel years ago and then starts bringing it up as if it's like a current thing.
Oh, geez.
Lo and behold, I make a fool out of myself.
That's totally on her.
Shout out Rachel.
She needs to date and cite the information she's giving you. She
Yeah.
needs to say, just so you know, Rachel, by the way,
We need
has
a
a big thing for
bibliography.
you. 2006, comma,
JSTOR.
Farmer's Market, Bushwick, 4 apartments ago. That's all I got. That's a dusty
Dude.
Wikipedia fact. That might need
Brutal.
to be fact checked. You
Well,
know,
always in a museum, dude.
there you go.
Fuck out of here with that.
Yeah. Well, I got something for you.
Sure.
So, what do I want to tell you? Oh, this is what I wanted to say. But I love the matchmaking stuff, man. That's
Good stuff,
That's
man.
good stuff. So here's what I wanted to run by you. So, this works. So, okay, you know how we every once in a while we hear about a man who gets discovered for having a second secret family
Yes.
in Phoenix, Arizona.
We enjoy this topic.
Have we talked about this before?
Yes, but conceptually, like, not
Okay. So I think about this a lot. I don't know why I've been thinking about this so much, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately. And first of all, I think we've probably said if that, it always seems to be Phoenix. It was like Phoenix or Salt Lake City or Topeka.
Dude, my dad goes to Arizona once a year, and
Yeah.
now I'm like,
Better watch out.
fuck, maybe
Yeah.
he's going with the baseball team of his college. I'm like,
Oh.
he doesn't have an official role with the baseball team. I'm like, he's like, yeah, I'm just kind of like the mascot. I'm like, the mascot?
Yeah. Oh boy. You better watch out.
gotta fucking
You're gonna
tail
have
him.
You're gonna have a brother.
Anyway, sorry.
So
Continue.
the thing that I was so curious about is that when that guy gets discovered, right, by his, let's say, New York family for having this second secret family in Phoenix all these years, there's this tearful confession, sits the family down, everyone's shattered. But he also has to do that in Phoenix, right? He has to sit the Phoenix family down and be like, listen, guys, horrible news.
Right.
All those times that you thought I was going to New York City for business, I was actually seeing my second family.
Yeah.
Now,
Which is actually my first family. Sorry, guys.
so which one is family A and which one is family B?
You have to assume the New York City one, because let's assume that someone in New York City is making more money than someone in Arizona. And that kind of money gives you that flexibility to be lying about your business trips.
But I think that this is just a New York centric point of view. I think that's just an extension of us thinking that the world revolves around New York City.
But New York City is a more expensive place to live. Therefore, you have to assume people make more money. I guess, I don't know, maybe the cost of living in Arizona is less, whatever. But like the most rich people in America live in New York, I thought.
So you're telling me that he loves his New York son more than his Kansas son because he makes more money in New York?
No, he may not. I'm just saying the first family may be in New York. He then has the money for the flexibility. He finds some fucking whoever, some lady he loves, and then suddenly he has a family with her. And he has his Kansas son and his New York son.
Would you think that, let's say that both families were to forgive him and be willing to work it out, that more often than not, he moves forward with the New York family than the Wichita family?
Yeah, I would say definitely.
What do you think the percentage is?
There ends up being this like remorseful moment where like he wants to make it right and reconnects with his original first love, and is in the doghouse long enough until he starts dogging her again.
Okay, because he's going back. He's going back.
Once
He's
you're a
hound
fucking
dog.
rotten scoundrel,
Yeah,
you
you're a
always
rotten
are.
fish. You're a ruffian. Yeah, I tend to agree. I wonder if it's like 70% stays with the New York, 30% stays with the Phoenix
With the new family.
fam. But it's such an amazing thing to me.
Dude, the way they get outed is so interesting. It's usually in some unusual time. Like, for example, like they figure this out. It's a well-oiled machine, and some like unpredicted circumstances end up being the thing that expose them. And that's for like all fraud. Like Madoff. If the financial crisis never happens, Madoff never gets caught.
Is that right?
Yeah, because everybody started pulling their money out of the fund.
Yeah.
And if they didn't do that, he could have still acted like everybody had their shit. I'm sure eventually they would have figured it out. But you know what I mean? Like, but it's the same shit with this kind of stuff. Like, for some reason, a bill goes to the house. They send somebody sends an invitation to his New York house instead of his Arizona house.
That's
because of it's like something very random that you end up getting caught. Or like there's a hurricane and you see him on TV with his other family holding them, or I don't know.
Oh man. I was thinking that too. Tornado Alley, right? He's got a family that lives in Tornado Alley. They're on the news standing in front of a pile of kindling that used to be their house, devastated. And they're like, and our father wasn't even here. He's in New York City. James Buchanan, if you're watching this, come home. We need you. And he's like, oh, shit. And then his wife and he are watching it, at their breakfast counter in their Park Avenue apartment. And he's like, is James Buchanan.
Wasn't he the president?
He sure was.
13th president?
Not a good one.
He was
I don't think Buchanan was a very good president.
He's certainly not one you hear about very often.
No.
Dude, isn't that funny that when you give somebody bad news, you're always like, you might want to sit down for this. Like 15th? Fuck.
Close.
You're always like, you might want to sit down for this. Like, no one ever tells you to sit down and then gives you like incredible news.
No
one's like,
don't.
you might want to sit down. I baked some fucking cookies.
Yeah.
You either got cheated on or someone's dead. Like, it's always something terrible.
Dude, also, not for nothing, if I'm going to receive bad news, I'd much rather be standing up.
Why?
I've never heard something so bad that it caused me to faint, right? Is that why we tell people to sit down in case the news is so fucking ruinous that it causes them to pass out? Right? And if it's so bad that that you're going to tell it to me and it's going to ruin my life, I'd rather just be as close to the door as possible so I can walk out.
Just run out of there.
Yeah.
Have you ever bombed so hard that you felt like you were going to faint?
Yeah, I think so.
I have one time. I started seeing stars. I was bombing so bad.
One time I bombed so hard it was at a burger place in the East Village, and it was like my
Bear Burger upstairs.
I don't even know what it was, dude. It was like my 4th set ever.
Yeah.
And I was doing impressions, and they didn't know a lot of the people that I was doing impressions of. It was like esoteric ESPN sports anchors. And I was like, why did I think?
My impression of Keith Olbermann.
Yeah, here's Chris Berman, and then whatever else, and nobody fucking knew, and I don't even think the impressions were that good. So they were like, even if we had known these people,
here's my impression of Leonard Bernstein.
Yeah. So,
dude, I was doing Catch a Rising Star in Princeton. I was cold opening, doing like 25, and then I was bringing up the other guy. And this was like early in my like career or whatever. And this is the weekend where I brought my middle school sweetheart with me. I reconnected with her. She wasn't even my sweetheart. I had a crush on her in middle school. She didn't give me the time of day. I reconnected with her as an adult, brought her on the road, and then we like had this wild weekend together. It was an amazing moment. But Saturday night of that weekend, I go up there and I'm trying to like film it and get a set. And there's only like 16 people in the crowd, and 8 of them were people who had a problem with like the ticket process that they were then taking out on me. Like they tried to use a coupon, they weren't able to, and they just were like mad already. And like I guess wasn't doing that well, and they just started being like, "You suck." And there was only like 20 people in the room.
They were saying that to you?
And this is like 3 minutes into my 25 minutes.
Holy smokes, dude.
And it's just, and like, any young comedians out there, when it gets that personal and direct, like you just have to address it directly. You can't just be like, so my dad's a real kook.
No, you got to do crowd work, and you got to kind of get to know people and hope that you can win them back. Look, you got to do crowd work. You got to find a way to get these people on your side. And if they're not rising to the challenge and they're not waking up to you, maybe you could make them a cup of coffee from the Brooklyn Roasting Company. Guys, this coffee, no joke. I know you guys are new to this. This is something that I was excited about. This is the best coffee I've ever had. Number 1, no joke. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you guys are coffee drinkers, Brooklyn Roasting Company is the best coffee I have ever had.
Dude, also, this is like a very like mainstream hip sponsor.
Dude,
for us.
it's awesome, man.
Very
I'm
cool.
so hyped to be telling people about them. They have an amazing roasting plant right here in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. It's like half a mile from here. I went to the plant, got a tour of the plant, saw their whole process, got this awesome bag of samples and stuff, tried a bunch of their coffee. They're super old school. They are coffee aficionados. The guy that started it, this guy, Jim, he was originally like a beer brewer.
Oh,
and then he
cool.
realized that he just loved coffee more, but had learned so much about the process of like making beverages that he switched to coffee.
That's sick. Dude, I love that we're sourcing local.
I know,
Oops,
man.
baby.
They're so sick. This is the Iris Espresso. This is my favorite because we make espresso drinks. But if you go to brooklynroasting.com right now, you will find all kinds of different blends that they have and try them out. Use promo code OOPSBEANS, one word, to get 5% off at checkout. By the way, really quick, they also make coffee peanut butter, which may sound insane. I had some of this
amazing.
today, dude. It is crack.
Oh my God.
It is crack. You throw some of that on an ice cream or a brownie or just even a sandwich. Oh my
Dude,
God,
fuck.
game over. I think, I don't want to
Jesus.
speak out of tell tales out of school here, but I think this was a collaboration with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Interesting.
I think she was the one that was like, can you make this? And they made it. And dude, try it. You know what? I'm going to make you try a spoonful. Are you
Dude,
seeing
please.
Hill Dog later?
It'll be fine. Peanut. No, dude, it's
His
nice of you to
girlfriend
remember.
has a nut allergy.
We'll talk about that. I have an update on that too. We spent a little
Little
time in the
spoonful.
hospital.
Wait till you try this, buddy. Oh,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
How good is that? I'm not lying. Yeah, he's going for more. Okay. Whoa, easy does it. Pump the brakes. Mister.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's insane.
It's
dude.
really amazing. Honestly, guys, go check out Brooklyn Roasting.
Oh my God.
And use promo code OOPSBEANS. Get some coffee, get some merch, get some swag, get the coffee peanut butter. I promise you will not regret it.
Dude, wow. So peanuts, she may or may not even be allergic to them anymore. We don't take the risk. So I will thoroughly wash my mouth out before I see her.
Got it.
But like, it's one of those that where like she may have become unallergic, but because she didn't reintroduce it back into her diet, she may be allergic again. And it's unclear how allergic. But tree nuts are what really get her. And listen to this.
What are tree nuts?
Cashews, pistachios, not nuts. Nuts are a legume.
Ah.
Or not nuts, sorry, peanuts are a legume.
Yeah, okay.
So last weekend, it's her sister's birthday. And this is a great story to give you guys an example of how allergic Hillary is to nuts. We go to this vegan restaurant, a really good spot, actually. I'm not going to say which spot now because it's going to make them look bad. But we're sitting there, we're eating, we're ordering stuff for the table. We order this like mushroom sandwich. We're like, is there nuts in it? And they're like, no. So comes out, we start eating. Hillary goes, she takes a bite and she goes, something's not right.
Uh-oh.
Waitress comes out. She's like, can you just double check to make sure there's no nuts on that? She goes, yeah. Goes back in, comes back out 5 minutes later, goes, there's cashew in the dressing. Dude, we just immediately stand up and go to the hospital. Immediately. Because if we don't, Hillary will die. The second a piece of anything involving cashew hits her palate, she begins to die. Isn't that fucked up? She begins to die. So we have to get up. So it was a big table because it was her sister's birthday. So me, her sister's boyfriend, and Hillary all go to the hospital, which happens to be the hospital I was born in, Methodist Hospital in Brooklyn.
Wow.
We go, they give her an EpiPen, and they're like, listen, you have to carry your EpiPen, blah, blah, blah. But she made a good point. When you take an EpiPen, you have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're going to be close to a hospital, do you really need to bring your EpiPen? Regardless, we go, she takes the EpiPen, and then we have to sit in the hospital for 5 hours because just in
Oh
case
my
she has a second
God.
wave of the reaction. And dude, the hospital happened to be packed that day. And not to be a dick to this old guy, but there was some old guy in a room, and I'm assuming maybe he was losing it or something because he just kept going, help, help, help.
Oh,
And
he's
dude,
yelling help?
yes.
That's not funny.
Dude,
I
no,
shouldn't have laughed.
no, it is.
I thought it was just a weird sleeping sound.
It's okay.
I thought he was snoring.
I'm assuming he had been attended to and maybe he was just like not all there. But dude, at some point I was like, hell, I got to take a lap. Like I can't take the help every 10 seconds on the dot. It's like
Yeah.
Chinese water torture. I got to get the fuck out of here.
Dude,
How crazy is that? man?
waiting in a hospital
Saturday afternoon, 5.5 hours.
for somebody, there's never a good time to go to a hospital. There's never a time where the hospital is pretty empty. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
People get
Especially in
injured
New York, dude.
around the clock.
Yeah.
You go at 2 a.m, you
Packed.
got a bunch of people who have been socked in the jaw in Greenwich Village.
I know.
You go at 3 p.m, you got a bunch of people who got into motorcycle accidents.
Yeah.
7 p.m, people who have, lit their sleeve on fire cooking risotto.
Totally.
It doesn't matter what time you go to a hospital, people are in trouble.
Dude, totally. And like, dude, it's just the whole situation of it is stressful. Like, this is my girl, dude. Like, knowing that, like, literally it's dramatic, but it's true. Like, the fact that she is beginning to inflate to the point where she will eventually not be able to breathe is a terrible feeling, seeing your fucking girl who you love go through that.
So what's the treatment? What do they do?
You take epinephrine.
An EpiPen.
Yep. Then they give you a bunch of Benadryl and a bunch of shit, and they just monitor you to make sure you don't have a second wave, because sometimes you will.
They don't pump your stomach or anything
No,
like
but
that?
her stomach will feel like shit for a couple days. But like, it's not just the breathing; her entire insides start to inflate to the point, dude. It's just like really fucked up, and I feel so bad for her because it takes away the ability for her to be really spontaneous. Like, she can't go on these like adventure trips that I go on, because if she eats something wrong and nobody speaks English and she eats a nut, like, she's fucking toast.
Yeah.
And
Damn,
they're
dude.
saying there are some like shot treatments that maybe if you take them once a month will lessen the severity of your symptoms or whatever. So we're looking into that, and hopefully.
Boy, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's pretty traumatic. How many times has she had to go to the hospital as a result of something like this?
So it's been 2 times in the last year, but before that, it hadn't been for 10 years.
Wow.
Her process is so meticulous of how she knows where everybody's fork has been. She knows what everybody's eating. She doesn't want to be annoying. She doesn't want people to not want to hang out with her,
Right.
because she has an allergy. So she's really good about it usually.
Mm-hmm.
In the past year, we've been in the hospital a lot, unfortunately. But I'll tell you what, man, we get through it, and like, you feel much closer to someone after
Sure.
you go through that.
Sure.
It makes me really appreciate her, and like, I feel bad for her,
Well, yes. Yeah. I don't want to, I'm not trying to one up your story,
No,
because
please.
this is not as good of a story, but Sierra went down to Miami, was hanging out with her friends, and she was wearing open-toed shoes at a bar, and someone stepped on her foot and completely dislodged her big toenail, so that only about 20% of it was clinging to its nail bed. And
Jesus.
it was completely at a crazy angle, askance. The nail was askance. I don't even know if that's the right, but you get what I mean.
Word of the day.
Yeah, pretty horrific. So she goes to urgent care in the most pain. Something about toenails, man.
Dude.
And I know you just had
A little procedure done as well.
a toenail removed. So she comes home from Miami last weekend, in blinding pain. And I have to, she goes to a podiatrist, has the toe numbed up. They remove the nail completely. And now it's all wrapped up in all kinds of gauze and whatnot.
Yeah.
And she has to do these warm baths of Epsom salt every day to clean it and then redress it. And the Epsom salt bath is so painful that she needs me to be there to sort of
Jesus.
help her grit her teeth and force her to keep her foot in the water.
It is so painful.
And it's not fun, as you said. I mean, I feel like I'm torturing somebody I love, even though I know it's what she needs. And then having to redress her foot, or I'm a little squeamish.
No, I feel
I'm a little bit of a squeamer. And looking at a toe without a toenail is not fun, dude.
It's weird, man. It's, I apologize if anybody's like cringing from listening to this, but dude, it is bad. Guys, spoiler alert, we're about to talk about something kind of gross. So if you are not into that, feel free to skip ahead about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's like injury kind of gruesomeness. So nothing beyond that, but if you're squeamish about that stuff, give it a couple 30-second skip forwards.
So the way I got to where I'm at.
Yeah, you just had, and it's so strange because Giulio legitimately had a very similar thing happen 2 days after my girlfriend did.
So crazy. So dude, I was playing a set against Michael Costa, our buddy.
A tennis set.
Very good
yeah.
tennis player, yeah. And on clay, you can slide. So I slid on my right foot to hit a forehand, and like somehow my toe just like jammed into my sneaker and popped my toenail in half. Which was, dude, I'm not kidding you.
Ah!
The day after that, the most pain I've ever been through in my life.
Yeah,
It ends
man.
up falling off. And when it grew back all fucked up. So they tried to fix it, and they couldn't. And yesterday, they just had to jam like a bar into all the way down to my toenail and then like a crowbar, pop it off, dude. How crazy. Sorry to everybody listening. But so now it's healing. I can't get it wet. So I'm like showering with a fucking bag over my foot, which is like crazy.
Yep.
But dude, yeah, it's kind of squeamish, dude. Like, and it makes me feel bad. It makes me squeamish. It makes me feel bad about like the prospect of having like a real gruesome procedure done. Because even last night in bed, I was like, dude, my toe's so fucked up right now. Like that's so nasty. And like you can feel it healing. I don't know.
That's good. Yeah. No, listen, dude, I get it. I don't know. It's something about nails. I shut a finger in a door once and the whole
Bad.
nail filled up with blood on the inside and went black. And then it took a couple weeks for the nail to actually fall off. And the night that I had shut it in the door, we were all going out and we actually went to Soho House. And I was in so much pain. And it was something that nobody cared about.
Right.
They were
Nobody
like,
understands.
dude, clearly this isn't that bad. Because I would show them a nail and they'd be like, oh yeah, it's bruised, whatever. But it's the pressure of the swelling against the nail and your finger not being able to, I was icing it. Nothing I did. I drank, I smoked weed. I was trying to numb it. Nothing was happening. And eventually at like 10 o'clock, I was like, I have to go home because I can't think about anything else right now.
Yeah. Dude, and what you can do in that situation to relieve the pain, apparently my uncle is like basically a doctor.
Poke a pin in it?
You poke a pin,
Yeah.
hot pin, and fucking starts spouting out. It's
Good.
crazy.
That would have worked at Soho House.
Dude.
They would have loved that there.
Starts spraying
Yeah.
everybody like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Dude, so I remember I asked the lady at the podiatrist, at the doctor, I was like, can I just take my toenail off? She's like, no. She's like, that's literally what they do for torture. Like it's the most painful thing in the world. And it made me think, dude, I don't think I would last very long being tortured. And I understand why people give false confessions because you have to believe in God so much or know that by confessing, you're going to immediately be killed. Or else, why would you not confess when you're being tortured?
Yeah. First of all, I don't understand what information I possess that anyone would need to take, a toolkit to me in order to get it out of me, fortunately. But
you got the wrong guy. What
yeah,
if it's that situation?
I mean, I would immediately divulge the information if someone held a blowtorch to my anus, whatever it is. Are you kidding me? There's
bleaching your hole the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, we'll figure it out after I've let the cat out of the bag. If I need to then run home and have our family print up some false passports and move to Guadeloupe for the rest of our lives, so be it. But short of that, I don't understand. I think I would even have fun concocting a false confession. I would
Absolutely.
I'd be like, no, wait, there's more. And they'd be like, we got it. You gave us the social security numbers, the addresses. And I'm like, I didn't tell you that the dad is a lefty, so you better come at him from the right. He keeps a bag of pistols under the stairs, whatever it may be. Yeah, torture would not. What is the method of torture that you would be the most scared to face?
Pulling teeth.
Really?
Yeah. Getting your teeth pulled out. Raw dog.
Wow.
With pliers, bro.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I mean, after all this nail talk, my thought immediately goes to having your fingernails removed.
Yeah.
Because you've seen that in movies and it looks absolutely
Terrible.
horrific. However, I also think that just any kind of cutting,
Mm-hmm.
if someone was taking a knife and just slowly pushing it into my thigh
Oh
or
my God, dude.
shooting me in the kneecap.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
Holy smokes, dude.
That sounds pretty bad.
What else is there?
I mean-
Waterboarding.
Waterboarding's supposed to be bad. I don't understand why or how it can. I'm sure it's terrible, but it doesn't scare me as much because I have no idea what it feels like.
So, you know what we were talking about last night that was pretty funny?
What?
We were talking about octopus teacher, as we
Oh, yeah.
often do. And for some reason, we were talking about, this is what we were talking about. We were talking
Snorkeling.
about diving, diving versus snorkeling. And I had said,
Dude, it's insane that that's what we're talking about.
yeah,
Snorkeling.
we're just sitting off having sidebar conversations while everyone else is like doing normal shit. We're just basically podcasting with no recording equipment. So we're sitting there, and someone had brought up the Seaspiracy doc, which I haven't watched. Have you seen it?
No.
I don't want to watch it.
I don't want to not eat fish.
Well, it's that I love eating fish, but it's also that, I don't want to know that the next time I go snorkeling, which I absolutely love to do, that I could be saying goodbye to my fishy friends for the last time.
Right.
I want to know. I don't want to know that. And so we're talking about this. We're on this subject, you and I, of diving. I said I dove the Great Barrier Reef with scuba diving equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, wait, did you have a snorkel on? And I was like, no, it was oxygen tanks, full on diving.
Got it.
And I said, you asked me, have you ever dived beneath the surface wearing a snorkeling mask like they do in My Octopus Teacher?
Right.
And I was like, no, I can't do that at all. And you were like, the second I do it, I'm drowning. And I completely agree.
100%. Anytime
you try to get fancy snorkeling and you take, you want a closer look at the reef. So you're like, I can go down, and you sort of point yourself down, you take a breath. I don't know what it is, but I am drowning instantly.
You just immediately start drowning.
Whereas in a pool, I can go down to the bottom of the pool, no snorkeling mask on, maybe some goggles on, and I can pick up, I don't even know, $14 in quarters. No problem. And come back to the surface, and I'm good to go. But if I am wearing a snorkel,
dude, it's over.
And I go under the ocean waves, I'm instantly drowning.
Yeah.
Panic.
Like, how is that even possible? Like, it seems like the pressure of the water, like you wouldn't even be able to do it. You'd have to be trained.
People do it, man. They swim languidly. They swim languidly with their snorkel mask on for long dives.
Dude.
That's My Octopus Teacher. That guy was staying down with his snorkel mask on for probably at least a minute or two.
Wild.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah. That was a very funny conversation that we were having.
Dude, I'm excited on the next episode to talk about our little night on the town.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't get to that.
I know,
but that is a very funny.
That's a good one.
I can't wait. Well, anyway, this was Oops the podcast, guys. I can't recommend it enough. Brooklyn Coffee Roasting, but Brooklyn Roasting Company is unbelievable coffee. Promo code Oops Beans. Go check them out. Check out our YouTube, Oops the Podcast. Check out our Instagram, Oops the Podcast.
Check out Francis' Patreon.
Yeah, check out my Patreon. I got videos, songs, blogs, all my writing. Francis Ellis, $5 a month. If you guys like me, please come check it out. I really appreciate you. It's my way of making a living now, aside from the pod. So I would love you for it. And that's all the promotion. And we thank you so much for listening. We'll see you soon. Good night.